Hi, this is the ITU World Triathlon Grand Final Gold Coast Age Group Briefing. My name's Leslie and I'm coming to you from Vancouver, Canada.
And hi, my name's Rebecca. I'm coming to you from the Gold Coast and part of the local organising committee, getting the event all ready for you.
Thanks so much, Rebecca, for all the work that you've already done for us. We're really looking forward to getting there in a few days. These are the items that we're going to be talking about in the next 20 to 30 minutes. If at any time you feel that you need some time to adjust or you want to go out for an extra little training run, just press pause and we'll still be here when you get back. Okay, so this is going to be an exciting 20 to 30 minutes of your time. There are some really key people that you need to make sure that you know about. The first one is my colleague, Thanos Nikopoulos. He's the technical delegate. He's also the director, producer, and cameraman for this particular production. As I said, my name's Leslie. I'm one of the head referees for the age group event, as well as my friend Lyndall Murray, who will be the head referee of the standard World Championship event. And then you've already met Rebecca, the bottom of the slide. Hi, Rebecca. So we have a competition jury in case we need it, but hopefully we don't need it. Hopefully you'll be able to get satisfaction by talking to Lyndall or myself. But these are the people who will convene if we do need to have a competition go for this particular race. Rebecca, can you tell us a little bit about the schedule for the sprint?
Absolutely. So the sprint is obviously one of our first races for the World Championships. So very excited to get underway for them. There'll be an age group team managers meeting on Tuesday morning, which is open to team managers only. That will have all the latest info that they then can pass on to the athletes. But we also have a fantastic event app, which I strongly recommend everyone downloads onto their iPhone or Android. Simply search for ITU Grand Final Gold Coast 2018, and that app will be kept up to date and will have most of the information that everybody needs. Moving on to Wednesday. We could be on the app.
Oh,
we can definitely try for that. Yeah. Moving on to the Wednesday, it's a big day for our sprint distance athletes, starting with registration between 10:30 and 4 o'clock. Now we will touch on that later, but that is done by country. Bike racking is also that day, 11 till 4:30, so all bikes must be racked on Wednesday for sprint distance. There will be no racking on race morning. And there's also the swim course familiarisation from 11 till 12. Something quite new and exciting for this year is our age group Q&A session. So that's where we'll have a technical official available between 11:30 and 3 o'clock in our information building, which is the only sort of big permanent building that you'll find at the venue. So it should be really easy to find. So that's in our information booth. And so athletes can come and ask any questions. Even if they think it's a silly question, there'll be a technical official there that can just help them make sure they have a great race and haven't left anything to the last minute to double check. And then also that evening, of course, we've got our Parade of Nations, which we're really looking forward to hosting, and our opening ceremony also that evening. So everything that sprint distance athletes need for the opening ceremony in terms of food and drink tokens will be in their race pack when they pick that up at registration.
That question and answer session is a really good idea, Rebecca. I'm really glad that you guys are implementing it for the first year. If you do go by and say hi to the technical official, tell them that Leslie and Rebecca sent you.
Yeah, I think that'll be really helpful. Sometimes we can't answer all the sort of rules and regulation questions, so it'll be really helpful to have a technical official there. Moving on to the big day for our sprint guys is Thursday, which is race day. So you will have access to transition for any last minute bike gear. But as I said, all bikes should be racked on Wednesday. There'll be no racking on Thursday morning. So 8 till 11, check the athlete information guide for specific times that you'll have access to transition. And you can also put any gear that you need post-race into our gear drop tent, which is on the venue as well. And again, we have that Q&A session running from 10 till 3:30 on Thursday. And then the big time for everybody is 10 o'clock, which will be the start of our sprint age group race. Another exciting feature that we've got this year is the Meet the Elites, which is some of our wonderful elites have made themselves available from 3:15 to 4 o'clock. purely for age group athletes to come and ask them any questions that they might have always wanted to know about elite racing or just triathlon in general. So that's another new thing that we're really looking forward to. So that will be at the venue on Thursday afternoon. Bike checkout post-race will be from 2:30 till 4 o'clock. Transition will be unsecure from 4 o'clock, so please make sure you come and grab your bike during those times. And then we will host the medal ceremony for age group sprint athletes Thursday evening from 4:30 in the main venue. So not down where we're hosting the other functions, but right in the venue, right near transition. So it'll be really easy to find.
Great. I couldn't have said that better myself if that was my slide or not. I can see the sprint bike checkout is going to be really busy between 2:30 and 3:15 because people are going to want to go and meet those elites. That's another great initiative that you guys have started. That's awesome.
Yeah, really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and so here's some information about the standard schedule. The standard swim course training is a little bit different than the sprint course familiarization. Rebecca, can you tell me a little bit about what the difference is between those two?
Yeah, that's right. So standard swim course will have training. So the whole course won't be open. That's because it is a point-to-point swim. And it is a main sort of boating thoroughfare outside of our racing time. So there will be an opportunity to come down and test the water, and that will take place at the swim exit. So look for the elite pontoon, starting pontoon, and that area will be set up to have some swim training, but it won't be the full course available on Thursday for the standard distance.
That makes perfect sense to me. And then the standard athletes also have this Q&A session where they can go and ask a member of the local organizing committee and a technical official any questions that they may have that aren't answered in this particular briefing. And then they get to meet the elites as well. So here's some more information about Friday and Saturday, again, about the bike racking with at the times that that they're supposed to go to that have already been sent out to the team managers, right?
Correct.
And then they'll have the opportunity to meet with at their transition and just put in that last minute gear because no bikes will be allowed on race day. Okay, and then the standard athletes get to have their day in the sun. I'm sure it will be the sun because it is the Gold Coast. And their medal ceremony will be combined with the closing party as well. You guys always do such a great job of partying. If the 2009 grand final has anything to do with it.
We are very much looking forward to our closing ceremony.
Excellent.
Here's our venue map.
Can you tell me a little bit about this venue map?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is quite a condensed venue in terms of the actual racing precinct. So you can see there we have sort of the elite transition, or what we refer to as the blue carpet area. So that's where all the elite action and the finish line and the race course will be. So alongside that is a grandstand, which is open and free to everybody. So tell friends and family to come on down and fill up the grandstand to watch you race. We also have age group recovery just by there as well, so just post-finish. You can see in the middle there the age group transition. So as we spoke about, bike racking is the day before your race, so make sure that you come and put your bike in either on the Wednesday for sprint or on the Saturday for standard. And then there's all the other things you'd expect to see, I guess, with an expo area. Our information building, as I said, is the only sort of permanent building on site, so it should be nice and easy to find. And you can see the gear drop up sort of on the right-hand side of that map there. And then also very importantly is a swim start for the sprint distance will happen just there to the sort of bottom right-hand corner. You can see the swim start. The functions venue is about 1 kilometre south of here. I'm not sure if we cover that later, but it's about 1 kilometre south. So it's nice and easy to get to, but it's not within that main race precinct. And then our standard distance swim start is a little bit further north. As I said, it is a point-to-point swim. So we do have to start them about 1.5 kilometres north, and then they'll swim back.
So what do you, when you mentioned the functions area is about 1 kilometre away, what would take place in that functions area?
So that will be, we'll walk the Parade of Nations into there. There'll be a marshalling area that will be easily found on Wednesday afternoon. Our opening ceremony will take place there, as well as the standard distance, medal ceremony, and our closing function. All takes place
Okay,
on it's called the Great Lawn.
Okay. So a lot of the non-race things are actually happening there.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Everything race focused is in the main venue, and then our functions will be just that little bit further down.
Okay. But before we can race, we have to register and we have to get everything that we need to race, correct? So it's really, really important that people bring a piece of identification, either their driver's license or their passport, something with their picture and their name on it and their age, because we want to make sure that people have been registered in the correct age group. And so people won't be able to pick up their race package without identification. So please make sure that you bring that with you. The athlete themselves have to come and pick up their race kit. And there's specific times for sprint and standard, as you can see there, that they need to make sure that they've picked up their kit by that time. And registration is done by country time slot, which has already been mailed out to the team managers, so the team managers are well aware of that. Okay, this is all the information, all the things that you get in your race kit, except for your timing chip, which you're going to get at another time. But this is all the goodies. And I see the very last thing is a little partnership gift, a little surprise. I'm excited about that. I look forward to that. So if there are anything in your race kit that you don't know what to use, then this would be a good time to go and see a technical official and have them help you with putting on the stickers or anything like that. And as it says, your timing chip will be given to you when you rack your bike. Okay, swim equipment rules, probably this is the least amount of equipment that you use during the races, during the swim. But you have to wear the official swim cap. That's really, really important. And if you are a person who likes to wear 2 swim caps, then the event cap has to be on the outside. Athletes must wear approved uniform for the swim. And if you're going to use more than one tri-suit, they both have to comply with the rules. If we're allowed to use wetsuits, we don't know yet or not. It's right on the bubble right now, but the wetsuits would have to comply with the rules as well. And you'll see that vest warmers are not allowed, gloves are not allowed. And so you have to know these rules and make sure that you pay attention to them. Gloves or socks, including but not limited to compression socks, are also prohibited. And obviously you can't listen to any device that you won't be able to hear the safety personnel or the technical officials. Please take your swim cap to your transition area and place it in with your gear. Okay, so these are all just rules. None of this should be new to you. So I don't want to spend a great deal of time on it, but Thanos did want me to mention that you cannot hand your arm warmers to someone else or deposit them off the course because this will lead to a time penalty. So if you do wear arm warmers, then they must be deposited in your transition spot. Another question that we get asked a lot is if you wear a jacket on the bike, it has to be transparent. It has to be something that we can see your actual uniform, or it has to be part of your National Federation kit. Okay, so there's some other rules there. Please take the time to read through these rules. It's really, really important. So those were some rules for the bike and the run, as well as the previous slide that had to do with the swim. So we're going to be checking your bike and your helmet the day before the race when you rack them. You have to be wearing your wristband, otherwise you won't be getting into the transition area. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to be checking on the bike in a moment, but we're going to be making sure that your helmet is snug and there's no cracks and you have your numbers affiliated with them. Okay. Body marking, we're going to be checking on race day, and we're going to make sure that you don't put out a towel or anything that marks your spot. There will be bike mechanics that will be on site that will help if you have any last minute adjustments. And as I said before, the timing chips are going to be distributed during your racking of your bike. They should be worn on your left ankle. If you choose not to race or you have to leave the race before the finish line, you must return your timing chip to one of the dropout clerks located at the information center. I don't know, Rebecca, if you want to say anything else about that.
Yeah, it is really important that we do know where every athlete is and we can account for them. So if you do drop out, especially in the swim, please come and tell us and hand your timing chip back in just so we can account for you. And the other really important thing is if you lose anything, put your wristband on too tight, anything like that, please come back and see us. We've got spares of everything and we can make sure you have a smooth race day by not having to worry about some of that stuff.
And I'm going over these rules really, really quickly, only because it's the middle of the night in Vancouver. But I do want you to take the time to look at the rule book and to look at these rules because it is quite important. So here is a slide about what we're going to be doing with the bike check. You have to have an approved bike frame. If there is an exception, then you can see that there's a link on this slide that you can go and check to see if your bike is on that approved list. We're going to be looking at wheels, we're going to be looking at your helmet, we're going to be looking at your bike frame and your handlebars and so on. So it's really, really important that if you have to make an addition or a modification, that you see either Lyndall or myself at the end of the briefing for the team managers so that we can approve or give you suggestions of what you might do instead. But it's really, really important that everybody is on safe and fair equipment. So this is something that we'll look for the sprint bike check. You'll see that the green things are okay to use. The traditional drop style handles are okay, but you can't have handlebars with a built-in extension or clip-on aero bars, any sorts of things like that. You can't have disc wheels. Your wheels must have a minimum of 12 spokes, and you should put that bike number on your bike to identify yourself and your bike as well. Okay, so those are the sprint, the draft legal equipment that we really want you to be aware of. So we do have wetsuit rules to keep you safe and to make sure you don't get overheated or you don't get too cold. Right now the water is on the cusp. We can't let you know right now if it will be a wetsuit swim, but these are the rules that we will look into, and we'll be taking the water temperature an hour before the first start and then every 30 minutes after that to make a determination. Speed suits can be worn only if they comply with the ITU competition rules, so they can't have any rubberized material, and they have to also follow the branding guidelines. And if you do wear a speed suit, it's worn from beginning to end. You can't take it off in transition. Okay, so again, take a look at those numbers.
Sorry, Leslie. Sorry, that's really important for our Australian athletes because that is a slightly different rule from our Triathlon Australia rules that we normally race under. But obviously we are racing under the ITU competition rules. So all the Australians, and I'm not sure if that affects any other national federations, but that is a different ruling.
Okay, so thank you, Rebecca, for jumping in there. That's really, really important to know. Okay. So now we're going to go into specific race day sprint distance information. And so please take heart if you're racing the standard. You may want to just listen in because you're having so much fun, or you might want to skip ahead to the standard distance information. But here is some specific information for a sprint race day. Rebecca, do you want to tell us a little bit about this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is for Thursday for our sprint distance athletes. So you will have access to transition prior to race start. It will be done by swim wave. So that information is in the athlete information guide. So I recommend that you have a look at that to check what wave you are, so you can see what time you have access to transition until. Technical officials will be conducting uniform checks as you enter transition. So please make sure that you are complying with ITU competition rules. And that you have your uniform and your wetsuit ready for checking on entry. As I mentioned before, we have a gear area that you can leave any clothing, etc., that you might want post-race to change into. That will be open from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. And that's right there just adjacent to transition, so will be very easy to find. And please do not cycle on the course at any time. We do need a little bit of time to get all the roads shut down safely. We do cycle on the Gold Coast Highway, so it is a very busy road up until we put road closures in. We do have some cut-off times around the course for all swim, bike and run courses. So athletes will have 30 minutes from their wave start time in the swim. And then we have various different cut-off times on the bike and the run. So again, I just recommend that you look in the athlete information guide just to make sure you're familiar with those cut-off times, just to make sure that you are keeping in front of those as you make your way around the course. We do have road closure limits, essentially, which dictate then our cut-off times for both sprint and standard distance.
Okay, fair enough. We do have to open up the roads to the regular people. So we do have to abide by these cutoff times as much as we would like to let everybody race as much as we can. Unfortunately, the World Championships, and we don't have that luxury.
Athletes in the sprint distance will have an opportunity for a swim warm-up. It is on the right of the swim start, and it is shown on the maps that we were looking at before. Athletes must stay in this designated area, and it is really important that you do exit the water prior to your wave start and then enter under the arch where your timing chip will be activated. So that's how we, one, know that you've started, and two, that you are in the water. So it is really important that you exit from your swim warm-up and then follow the process of going underneath the arch to activate your timing chip.
That's really important. We need to know everybody who decided to start. And so these are the wave starts.
Get an accurate time.
Yeah, which is always a plus. So these are the sprint wave starts as well as the swim cap colors. So make sure that you're well aware of when you should be there, and it's your duty to get to the start on time. Okay. Give you a moment to look at those, but you can also pause the video. That's the bonus of technology. So athletes are going to be called to the calling area and to start with their appropriate wave. My technical official colleagues will make it worth your while and give you a good little intro into before you get started, and they'll get you a little bit warmed up. But you have to cross the timing mat that will register you in the right wave, and the technical officials will guide you at the start. The start will be given at any time after the starter announces on your mark, and there will be a horn, and the race starts, and it'll be a deep water start. If you start earlier than the one that was on the slides before, you will be disqualified. If you show up late, you will still be allowed to start. However, your time will start from when your wave that you were supposed to go in was supposed to start. So that's really important to know. Okay, if we have a false start, hopefully we won't. I was just knocking on wood. I don't know if you could hear that. But we'll have several horn blasts to call you back. Kayakers will come out in front of you, and everybody will go back to the starting position, and we'll start all over again. Okay, can you tell us a little bit about the start and the swim, Rebecca?
Absolutely. So for our sprint distance, obviously it's a 750-metre swim in an anti-clockwise direction. You can see there just to the right of the start is the warm-up area I was referring to before. So athletes do have access to that. Again, just very important that they exit the water and then go under the arch and cross the timing mats prior to their wave start. It is a deep water start, as you mentioned, so athletes will walk into the water. So it won't be too deep, but it is classed as a deep water start. There will be swim buoys positioned on your left almost every 200 metres. So keep all buoys on your left-hand side as you go round. You can see there you exit back at Mitchell Park and straight into transition. Now once you come out of the water from the swim, you'll enter into transition. Um, and it's a one-directional flow, and you'll grab your bike and out onto the Gold Coast Highway that we were talking about before. When you come back in to change over onto the run, there is a bridge in transition that all runners will exit via. So on the run course, just make sure you head towards that bridge to go up and over. So that goes over our cycle entry and exit points, and then you'll make your way out onto the run, which is the red lines you can see there on the course.
That's great. Not many races can put in a bridge, but that really helps with not having over any crossovers. So that's hugely important.
Absolutely.
So in the sprint, we have some transition and bike rules that we need to warn you about, remind you about. Hopefully you're not hearing these for the first time. And again, take some time to go over them, even though I'm not going to mention all of them. One thing that we're really strict on is that your helmet has to be done up whenever you're in possession of your bike. That's really, really important. You're going to keep as far left as possible and not go over the center line. You must respect the mount and dismount lines, and you have to rack your bike in your rack position. Okay. Again, you can't use anything in your ears or anything that you're going to not let you hear from the safety personnel or technical officials. Okay, and then we have this great bike course.
So let me tell you a little bit about the bike course. So it's a 1 lap course. Obviously, we are draft legal for the sprint distance. And as I mentioned before, we do utilise the Gold Coast Highway. So it's a beautiful, wide, lovely surface road. The important things to note here is we do have some controlled crossings of vehicles. We do need to allow the general public and the community to still move around the Gold Coast and limit our impact where we can. So there will be a little bit of movement and controlled crossing points at various stages, but that's all taken care of by the local police. So it will be done safely, and the course is controlled at all times. So there's no risk to athletes at any point in time. The important thing to note really is to keep left on the cycle course and pass on the right, which is normal triathlon common sense, really.
Yeah, good. We like common sense. And there's some technical sections, aren't there?
Yeah, we've got a few little technical sections for our age groupers. So the first one that you'll come across is within 2.7 kilometres of the start of the course. There is a small 500-metre climb across Grace Avenue and Turpin Road. 17 metres of gain at 8.5% through this section. So there's a couple of corners in there as well. So it is a little bit technical. So take a little bit of extra care going through that area. But that is the most technical section that you'll find on the bike course.
Excellent.
So we do just remind our athletes to keep an eye out for any red flags on course. So our course marshals will have these with them and whistles as well. So if you hear sharp whistles and a red flag waving, that just means that up ahead there is something that you need to be mindful of as you're approaching. Maybe another athlete needing a little bit of help or something. So just be eyes and ears open when you see a red flag or hear those sharp whistles.
Okay, then we have some specific rules for draft legal races. It's still forbidden to draft off an athlete who's a different gender than you are, and it's also forbidden to draft off a motorbike or a vehicle. So those are still really important to remind yourself of. And as I'm reading this, I'm reminded that when we give out the registration kits, we will have tattoos or decals for the age categories that will be going on your calf. So it'll be really important that those are visible to everybody as you are cycling and running. So you won't be able to cover those up. With regards to blocking is when an athlete behind you cannot pass. So if you are seen to be blocking, you will receive a yellow card, and that penalty will have to be served at the next bike penalty box. So if you see this yellow card, and hopefully hear a whistle and your number called, it could be for blocking, it could be for littering, it could be because you're helmet is undone or whatever, the technical official will tell you that you have received a penalty and you must stop at the next penalty box to serve your penalty of 10 seconds. If you choose not to stop at the next penalty box, it will result in a disqualification. And nobody wants to travel to the beautiful Gold Coast and get a disqualification. So Rebecca's going to tell us where these penalty boxes are going to be.
Sure, we have two out on the bike course. The first one is approximately 11 kilometres, so it's just after you reach the far turnaround and you're heading back inbound towards the venue. So that's at Fulkinda Avenue, as I said, approximately 11 kilometres. The next one you'll come across is at Frank Street, or intersection of Frank Street and the Gold Coast Highway, approximately 18.5 kilometres inbound. On your way back to the venue. So 2 opportunities to fall into penalty boxes, both inbound on your way back to transition.
And you'll see the
sorry,
L's.
There's littering zones at the penalty box. So one of a few opportunities to drop your litter within that area, and we have an amazing team of volunteers that help us out in tidying all that up. So please make sure you litter in those designated areas. Okay, and moving on to the run course. Yep, so our run course is a 5 kilometre 2-lap course, our ASICS run course. So it heads out of the venue northbound to Len Fox Park. There are 2 aid stations that athletes will come across. So aid station 1 is outbound, so it's actually the one aid station that they hit both on the way out and the way back in. So aid station 1 is outbound, aid station 2 is inbound, and again there are littering zones at the aid stations. So please only litter in the littering zones. That's because we have volunteers there that can pick that up, and it also means you don't get a penalty from our technical officials. There will be a photo finish at the finish line, and as always the finish area with age group races does get very congested very quickly, so we do ask that you move through to the recovery area, rehydrate, and then move out to find your friends and family that I'm sure are eagerly awaiting to congratulate you.
I'm rehydrating. I chose not to throw the water at myself during the aid station, but rehydrating. Okay, so again, as you said, we want to discard our cups and litter in the littering zones, and you'll see these signs around the aid stations and the penalty box. And now we're at the standard distance jazz hands. So this is exciting for all of those athletes who will be participating in the standard distance information. So we have race day information for them.
We certainly do. So athletes will have access to transition race morning prior to their start. It is done by SwimWave. So all that information can be found in the athlete information guide that is now up on our website. So make yourself familiar with which wave start you're in, and then that will tell you how long you have to access transition on race morning. Technical officials will be conducting uniform checks as athletes enter transition. So make sure you have your uniform and wetsuit, if it's a wetsuit swim, ready for checking by those technical officials to make that efficient as everyone comes in the morning. Now this is a little bit different for standard distance, our gear bag drop and collection point. So we have the main one on the venue in the gear tent, which will be open from 4:30 in the morning right through till 1:30. So it's open all day to drop gear and then pick anything up that you may want once you've finished your race. Now because the swim start is a little bit away from the venue, it is a little bit further north, we do have a swim gear drop at the swim start, and we will bring that gear back for athletes. So I do ask that you keep it minimal as to what you need at the swim start. So obviously a pair of shoes that is a bit of a walk up to the swim start, maybe something to keep you warm prior to your start, but if we can keep it to minimal gear only, and we'll transport that back, and it will be available back in that same gear tent for athletes just as soon as we can get it there. Another really important thing to note, as I said, the swim start is a little bit away from the venue because it is a point-to-point swim. So it's about a 1.5 to 2 kilometre walk. So we do urge athletes to allow enough time to get to the swim start without rushing and getting flustered. So do allow at least 20 minutes to get to the swim start. We will have a water station on the way to make sure that no one dehydrates on that walk, and there will be toilet facilities at the swim start.
I was going to ask that. So good answer. Okay, so the swim warm up is going to be a little bit different for the standards as well, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. So, because it is a deep water start, essentially the standard distance swim or athletes will have an opportunity to warm up as they approach the start line. So that will only be a couple of minutes prior to the wave start. So again, it's really important to make sure every athlete crosses over our starting mats, which will be clearly identified at the start area. So we know that everyone has started in the right wave and account for everyone once they're in the water. Um, so you'll have your warm up as you make your way to the start line. And please note that you will not be able to warm up prior to this time. So there will be ample time to get into the water. We'll make sure of that. The technical officials will guide you in. And as I said, you must enter under the arch where the timing chip will be activated. So if you don't go over that mat, we won't guarantee you an accurate time.
So their 20-minute walk run to the swim start is really their warm up.
Yes, correct. And then there'll be enough time to jump in the water and acclimatise to the temperature before their wave start.
And there's some early morning wave starts on the screen right now, so you can check when your swim start is and what beautiful swim cap you will be wearing. I would be wearing a beautiful blue one. And here are over 1,800 athletes that will be competing in the standard, which is pretty exciting. Okay, so similarly, people were asking you to go over the timing mat, and we'll have technical officials and volunteers to help you with that. Okay, again, it's on your mark, the air horn, and the race will start. And it's prudent for me to mention this again in case you skipped over the sprint information, is that if you start in a wave that's earlier than your designated wave, you will be disqualified. If you start afterwards, then your race start will start at the time that your wave should have gone off. So everybody really needs to be on time because you don't want to give up any time because you're late. If there's a false start, there'll be several horn blasts. Kayaks will come in front of you, and everybody will be asked to go back to the deep water start.
Moving on to our standard swim course. So as we've mentioned, it is a point-to-point 1.5 kilometre swim, and it is a deep water start. Now the tides that we are expecting on race morning will be low moving to high, so athletes will be tide assisted. They won't be swimming against the tide at any time. So that should help people with their 1.5k swim. Competitors will be marshalled to the orange pre-start buoys before starting at the red buoys. Athletes will swim south, keeping the pink buoys on their right, and they will be approximately every 250 metres. Competitors must swim through the parallel pink buoy gates located at 500 and 1,000 metres. So that will just keep you on track if you aim for those two pink cans together, which we call our gates. At the final yellow buoy, competitors will turn right and head to the swim exit and into transition.
And they may even be able to see this when they're walking by. If they're in a later wave, they'll be walking by and they'll see the other athletes coming out, right?
Absolutely. So you can see that sort of red dotted line there. That's the walking route that we recommend, and it basically just hugs the water edge. So you'll get a great view of the swim course as you walk along there.
Good.
Okay, moving into transition. So you'll come out of the swim exit and into transition. So you can see there that the yellow line is your bike course. So you'll be directed by technical officials in transition to exit out into the bike course and back in. And then it's important to note that on the run course, we actually have a bridge that goes over the cycle entry exit point to avoid any crossovers. So as you make your way out into the run, make sure that you run over the bridge and then out onto the course.
Good. And we have some competition rules for our transition and our bike. So it's really important that you have your helmet done up every time you're in possession of your bike. You're obeying all the road rules. And this goes for not just race day, but as soon as you land in the Gold Coast, if you're riding your bicycle, you should have your helmet on. And I'm going to yell at you if I see you in the street without your helmet on. Because it makes no sense to me why people don't do that. Keep as far to the left as possible. Don't cross over the center line. You have to rack your bike in your position, and you can't carry anything that's going to be a danger to yourself. You can't wear headphones like I'm wearing right now, because you have to be able to hear the safety people. Please take some time. I'm just going through these competition rules very, very quickly. Please take your time and read through not only these ones, but your competition rule book, so that you're well aware of all of the rules that will be used during your race. And can you tell us about this lovely bike course?
I absolutely can. And you made a good point there, Leslie, with helmets. It is actually a legal requirement in Australia to wear a helmet at all times on a bike. So police can fine you if you don't. So please wear your helmets. Now, the bike course is a 2-lap course for our standard distance, extending all the way from Southport up to Paradise Point. The bike mount and dismount is adjacent to transition out on the Gold Coast Highway, so you do need to push your bike out into the highway before you jump on. It is a highway, so it's nice and fast and flat and nice wide open roads, so and a really good road surface as well. So we're very lucky to be racing on that for down here on the Gold Coast. It's actually part of the Commonwealth Games course as well, so it had a lovely resurface a couple of months ago, which is great for us. Now we do need to know that there will be some local vehicle crossings and access. That's just so we can make sure that the local community that still need to go about their normal day do have some access, but this will be controlled by police and traffic controllers at all times, and the course is secure, so at no time will there be any issues or concerns about athlete safety. Police and traffic controllers will do that for us as and when needed, and then obviously athletes must keep to the left of the cycle course and pass on the right. There are a couple of technical sections for our standard age group bike course, so you will actually do this area twice, being a 2-lap course. So on the first lap it's 2.7 kilometres from the start, and there's a 500-metre climb across Grace Avenue and Turpin Road, which you can see there. 17 metres of gain at 8.5% through this section, and a couple of little sneaky corners in there as well. So we do advise athletes just to take a little bit of extra caution as they go through this technical section of the bike course.
Good advice.
Now, if athletes see our course marshals waving red flags and or hear sharp whistles, that is a caution signal. So we just ask athletes to be mindful that something must be happening up ahead, and just to take a little bit more caution as they approach the course in front of them if they hear those sharp whistles or any red flags waving.
And your race marshals, they don't have a really, really long right arm. They don't have to have.
No,
that
they don't.
No, okay. Just checking, because the diagram looks like it. Okay, so we have bike rules. This is exciting for me. So we have a draft zone, 10 meters between the bikes from your front wheel to your competitor's front wheel. You can't see me with my hands, but I'm actually showing you what 10 meters looks like. You have a maximum of 20 seconds allowed to pass. If one of my colleagues, a technical official, sees you drafting, they will show you a blue card, and you will have to stop at the bike penalty box for 2 minutes. If you do not stop, or you get a second blue card, that will be a disqualification. It is your responsibility, if you get a card, to stop at the penalty box. Numbers will not be posted on a board. You have to be paying attention and go to that next one. Okay, so if you are going into somebody else's zone, you have to enter through it within the 20 seconds, and you have to be making an effort to overtake that person and go through it. Sometimes there are tricky sections on the course, 100 meters before and after the transition area, say, or at an acute turn, we may suspend that draft area, but that will be said to you, and the technical officials will wave you through. But by no means draft only when you can. Please don't draft. Athletes need to pass when other athletes' front wheel is ahead of theirs. Once somebody has overtaken you, it is your responsibility then to drop back. Okay, you need to keep to the side of the course and not create a blocking incident. Blocking is when the person who is behind you cannot overtake you because of where you are on the course. Okay, so there's two colored cards that you may see, a blue card or a yellow card. A yellow card will be for things that aren't drafting, like blocking and littering. If you receive a yellow card, you have to stop at the next penalty box to serve a penalty of 15 seconds. If you do not know what color your card is being shown, then by all means ask the technical official, but you should be aware of that. The technical official who is giving you the penalty will show you the card. So the person at the penalty box will not have seen which card they gave you. So it is your responsibility to know which one you got, but try to avoid it at all costs. These are where the penalty boxes are going to be. Rebecca, can you tell us where these are?
Sure, so there's two out on the bike course. Obviously being 2-lap course, they'll be passed 4 times. So the first one on lap 1 is approximately 11 kilometres. So you'll go around the northernmost turn, and then you'll hit that just as your way back as you start heading inbound back to the venue. So that's at Falkinda Avenue. And then the second one is at Frank Street on lap 1. It's about 18.5 kilometres, again on the inbound direction back towards transition. And it's between Whiting and Central Street. There are littering zones at each of these penalty boxes. We do strongly recommend that athletes drop any rubbish in these littering zones. We have volunteers there that are willing to help us clean all that up, and it does mean that you won't receive a penalty for littering on course.
Excellent. Nobody wants a penalty. Okay, the run course looks interesting. Can you tell us about the run course?
Yeah, onto the run course. So it's a 2-lap course of 5 kilometres per lap for our standard distance age groupers. You head north from the venue up along Marine Parade, and there are 2 aid stations, but you hit them both outbound and inbound. So technically 4 aid stations on the run course. So aid station 1 and 2, you'll pass outbound, and aid station 3 and 4 will be inbound. Again, there's littering zones at the aid stations, so please drop any gel wrappers or your cups or anything like that as you pass through those aid stations. There is a photo finish at the finish line, and as with all age group events, it does get very congested very quickly at the finish area. So we do ask athletes to make their way through to recovery, rehydrate, have a little bit of time in recovery, and then head on out to find your friends and family who should be waiting for you post-recovery.
That'll be exciting. But before we get there, we have to go through those aid stations and littering zones. So look for these diagrams that show you when you can litter and when you have to have stopped littering. Okay, so make sure that you follow those. There is going to be doping control for age groupers at this event, both for the sprint and the standard. We're going to be testing more age groupers than we have in our whole history of grand finals. And so you will have to have some identification with you in your gear bag to show the testers. I'd like to invite everybody, friends, family, spectators, athletes and coaches, to our anti-doping outreach booth at the expo. The Australian Anti-Doping Agency actually is going to have virtual reality glasses where you can go through a sample collection, and that's going to be quite exciting. And if you stop by and you promise to participate with with the best intentions and without taking any prohibited substance, you may get a small gift of some kind. So please stop by. As you may or may not know, I'm also the anti-doping director for the International Triathlon Union. So this is near and dear to my heart. So I hope you will stay and go visit that booth.
Now for the all-important weather forecast. So we have officially moved into spring a couple of days ago here in Australia. So September in Australia, or on the Gold Coast in particular, has the lowest rainfall average of the year. We are expecting a little bit of rain this week, but we are hoping that that clears up come race week. Average temperature, as you can see there, is usually between 12 to 23 degrees, so a little bit cool in the mornings, but it does warm up sort of by mid-morning and lunchtime, and then cools off again in the afternoons. So do bring a little bit of warm clothing with you as well. Water temperature on average is about, it ranges from 20 to 22 degrees. So as Leslie said before, it really is borderline whether it will be a wetsuit swim or not for our age group athletes. So please do come prepared for either option. And you can see the sunrise time there is usually around 6 a.m, a fraction earlier, and sun setting by sort of 5:30. So the days are getting a little bit longer, but still relatively short, I guess, sort of for Europeans that might be coming over. So weather in September really is beautiful on the Gold Coast. We do have our fingers crossed for beautiful sunshine and nice days. So really looking forward to showing you all the Gold Coast in one of the best months of the year.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to coming to the Gold Coast. And we're also looking forward to seeing this briefing again and again and again. So we're going to post it on triathlon.org. And so you can check it out and watch it there. So Rebecca and I are going to be around the venue. And if you do see us, please do say hello and tell us that you saw us in the briefing, because that will make our day. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them at any time, or go to the information booth for the age group question and answer.
Can't wait to see you all on the Gold Coast.
Awesome. Okay, we look forward to it. Thanks, everybody.